Every now and then a company makes a move so massive, so bold, it sends ripples through an entire industry. Well, a pharma giant just placed a multi-billion-dollar bet that could completely reshape one of the hottest areas in medicine right now. So let's get right into this blockbuster deal.
All right, so let's set the scene. The date is November 13th, 2025. And Pfizer, yeah, that Pfizer, one of the biggest names on the planet, finalizes a truly monumental acquisition. Now, this isn't just some run-of-the-mill business deal. Oh no, this is a massive signal, a major strategic shift for the company.
So that leads to the big questions, right? What in the world did Pfizer spend all these billions on? And maybe even more importantly, why is this deal making such huge waves in the healthcare world? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down for you.
Okay, so here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we'll look at Pfizer's big bet. Then we'll decode that massive price tag. After that, we'll dive into the obesity drug race, peek inside the company they bought, and finally, look at what's next.
All right, first up, Pfizer's big bet. And let's be clear, this was no random shopping spree. This was a super calculated strategic investment in what they believe is the future of medicine, a future aimed at tackling one of the biggest health challenges on the globe. So the company at the very heart of this deal, it's called Metsera. Now, these guys are a clinical stage biopharma company, and their entire focus, their whole reason for being, is creating the next wave of medicines for obesity and related cardiometabolic diseases. And now, they're part of the Pfizer empire.
Okay, so we know who they bought. But just how much did this future-focused company cost them? Well, that brings us to part 2, decoding the deal. Let's follow the money trail.
The headline number here is, well, it's just staggering. Pfizer shelled out an enterprise value of around $7 billion. Let that sink in for a second. That is a huge commitment, and it tells you everything you need to know about how serious they are about this space.
But wait, it gets even more interesting. That $7 billion isn't even the whole story. The deal also includes this little thing called a contingent value right, or a CVR. The easiest way to think about it is like a bonus. It's a promise that says, hey, if these drugs you're developing actually hit certain big milestones down the road, we'll pay you even more.
So let's look at it on a per-share basis. Pfizer paid $65.60 in cold hard cash, upfront, for every single share of Metsera. But then, on top of that, there's the potential for another $20.65 per share from that CVR we just talked about. It's actually a pretty smart move, right? It lets Pfizer hedge its bet a little while still dangling a pretty big carrot for success.
So that really brings us to the billion-dollar question, or I guess the $7 billion question. Why now? Why spend so much money? To really get that, we need to zoom out and look at the bigger picture in our next section, the obesity drug race. And trust me, it's a race. I mean, you don't even have to guess. Just listen to what Pfizer's CEO, Albert Bourla, said himself. He said they're aiming for one of the most impactful and high-growth areas in medicine. But here's the key word in his whole statement. He said they wanted to define it. Define. That's a power word. They're not just looking to get a piece of the pie. They want to be the ones baking it. And that's the real takeaway here. This move isn't just about adding a couple of promising drugs to their lineup. Nope. This deal is designed to completely transform Pfizer's entire internal medicine portfolio. It's about giving them the firepower they need to go toe-to-toe with the current heavyweights in a market that, let's be honest, impacts millions and millions of people.
Okay, so what exactly did $7 billion buy them? Let's pop the hood and take a look inside Metsera's arsenal at the therapies Pfizer now has in its back pocket.
And this is a really important point. Pfizer wasn't buying a company with massive sales and profits right now. They were buying one thing, potential. They bought a whole pipeline, a portfolio of promising drug candidates, all at different stages of development.
All right, let's talk about the crown jewels. First, you've got MET-O97I. It's a GLP-1RA, which is a fancy way of saying it mimics a natural hormone that helps you feel full. The huge news here, it's in phase 3 trials. That's the last major hurdle before you can ask for approval, so it's close. Then you've got MET-233I, an amylin analog. Think of this one as a potential sidekick drug to make the first one even better. It's in an earlier stage, so they're playing the long game too. And then the potential grand prize, an oral GLP-1, a pill. You see this mix? A near-term contender, a long-term partner, and a potential game changer. That's why they wrote that giant check.
And this contrast is really what it's all about.
On one hand, you have these powerful injectable drugs that are pretty far along the development path. But on the other hand, you have what many consider the holy grail, a simple pill. I mean, think about it. A successful, effective weight loss pill would just be a monumental game changer for patients, for doctors, for everyone. And Pfizer just bought a very expensive lottery ticket for that grand prize.
So the deal is done, the money has been spent. What happens now? In our last section, let's look at the path ahead, what this all means for Pfizer and, of course, for patients.
Okay, now here's something you don't hear every day, especially after a massive purchase. Pfizer has come right out and said that this deal will probably hurt their earnings per share all the way through 2030. Think about that. That's the clearest signal you can get that this is not about a quick buck. They are willing to sacrifice short-term profits for what they hope will be a massive long-term jackpot.
So let's wrap up with the key takeaways. Metsera, it's now completely owned by Pfizer. Its stock is no longer trading. And the big plan now is for Pfizer to take these exciting drug candidates and plug them into its gigantic global machine. We're talking manufacturing, clinical development, marketing power, all to hit the accelerator and hopefully get these new treatments to people all over the world faster.
So Pfizer has placed its bet. It has rolled the dice in a huge way on the future of treating obesity. And now the only question left, and it's a big one, is will this $7 billion wager pay off? Will it truly reshape the future of medicine for millions and millions of people? I guess we'll have to wait and see.